morning. It's Sunday morning. Raining, still humid though, but not a bad day, I guess. I'm glad it cooled off. It was getting a little too hot there. It was about 90 yesterday. Anyway, yeah, we're off to a good start. Fly in my coffee. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to wrap up the two front fenders and the hood. I've got a little bit of welding to do on both fenders. On the right side, I have a small tear, maybe half an inch long. Just going to weld that up. The left front fender, driver's side, I got a patch to put in. Just a few little pinholes there, so we got a patch maybe that big, 3x6, 4x6, something like that. So we'll weld that in, get that all done, clean up underneath, get it, all three pieces into epoxy primer, and once that primer sets up for a day, you can start body working it. That's body filler and whatnot. So that's what we're going to get done. Yeah, so we might as well just get to it. Okay, so here's the right front fender, and here's this little tear I was telling you about. I took the grinder and I kind of gouged it in there so we got somewhere to put the weld into, because once I straightened out this edge down here, or tried to straighten it out, I got a little bit of hammer work left on it. This tear closed right up, so you want to have space for your weld. So I'm going to weld this up. We'll finish straightening that out, and there's a couple of little tiny wrinkles here and there. We'll get those out, and then we'll clean up underneath and get to the other fender. Okay, a couple things here. There's that split that's welded up. It was also split this way, so we welded that up as well. And I don't know why I say we. I welded it up. This corner also, there was a little spot, so we welded that up. And I'm just going over it with a wire wheel on a drill. Take all the loose scale and crap off. And we're gonna have to fix this up as well. It's banged in and stuff, so you can see it a little bit from the outside. So we're gonna clean that up, all this stuff, and yeah, we should be good to go. Okay, so the underside of the fender is done. I went over the whole thing with this, and where this wouldn't reach, I just used the old hand wire brush job. Yeah, this surface rust here, as long as there's no scale or flake, loose stuff falling off, the epoxy primer loves this. It not only seals it, it sticks like baby shit to a blanket. So yeah, don't worry about the surface rust. Like I said, as long as the flake and the loose stuff is off. Also pulled or hammered the dent out of the corner and welded up it was a split, so that's good. So the underside's ready for epoxy. I'm going to flip it over. There's a couple of spots I got to go over with the grinder, and yeah, then the whole fender is ready for epoxy, and we'll get after finishing off the second one. Okay, so I went over a few spots with the disc sander and whatever. So overall, for a 70-year-old fender, I mean, it's in better shape than I am. So it's ready for epoxy. I add a few more little taps with the hammer here and there. And, after it's sprayed with epoxy, if there's anything that really stands out, you can always take the hammer to it some more. So I'm calling this one done for now. It's ready for epoxy, and we're going to do the same thing on the other one. I'm not going to show the whole thing. I will show putting in the patch, though. So, yeah, we'll get after that now. Okay, so I've cut out my patch, and you can see it's got some curves to it, kind of a compound angle, or curve, I should say. But, when you lay it on here, that's about where it goes. It lays nice and flat. So we've picked up that shape. So I mark it with an arrow pointing up, and I know the arrow is on the outside. So I've just got to clean up these edges and, cut it out. But I'm going to trace it first. So I've got my Sharpie here, and I'm just going to hold this down, trace it, and cut it out. So yeah, we'll be back once the hole is cut in there. Okay, so my hole is cut. I cleaned up the edges of my patch, got it in place, and I'm using these little clamps here. Basically, what happens, you just slip that in the gap, and that's, you know, the thickness of this perfect gap for welding. And you just slide it into the gap, and then you take this piece. Oops, sorry, this piece here, and you slide it into that hole, and you just tighten it up. And it brings it up nice and flush. And then as you're tacking, you tack it kind of behind it, and you slide this down, and that keeps it nice and flush all the way. So yeah, I'll probably go to time lapse, and we'll weld this sucker in. Okay, so there we go. Patch is in. Looks pretty good. You noticed during the time lapse that I was, you know, I'm hopping around all over the place. You don't want to get too much heat concentrated in one spot. So, you know, you do a few zaps, you know, zap, 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 and then move over here, zap, 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 and move over there. And just keep moving it around so that, you know, it doesn't get too hot in any one area, because it'll just, you know, it'll just wave on you and get all warped and messed up. And then it's a ton more work with a hammer and dolly and everything to try and straighten it out. So yeah, keep it moving around. And you know, if you think it's getting too hot, just give it a little blast of compressed air, and that'll cool it off pretty quick. At the end there, you seen where I came back, it looked like it was all done, and I came back and I gave it a couple of zaps. Well, what I did there was, you know, I have the flashlight set up underneath, so, you know, it's beaming up the light this way. And if there's any pinholes, they'll show up as a little dot of light. So I had 3 of them that showed through. Give them a quick zap, clean up the welds, and we're good to go. No more pinholes. So yeah, all I got to do now is a little bit more love with the hammer and dolly. This crease here needs some help. Little shot right here. A couple other little places I noticed. And we'll clean up the underside of the fender, and then it's ready for epoxy primer, along with the first one I did. And then we'll get on that hood and get all that combustible undercoating scraped off from the underside of the hood. So that's where I'm at, and I guess I'll come back after I've got the hood set up. Okay, so I started scraping the underside of the hood. I'm just using, you know, one of these deals, and it's coming off okay. I'm going to show you why we're getting rid of this stuff. So, you know, just move the camera here a little bit. Don't mind me. So, you know, you don't want this stuff on the underside of a hood. I mean, that's crazy. Why would you want something that catches fire that easily? Anyway, that's why we're getting rid of it. So I'm just going to carry on. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. It took a bit of time, but finally got it all scraped off. But I mean, this thing is really nice underneath. So despite it being flammable stuff, it actually probably saved the hood. So yeah, I'm going to clean this all up. I'm going to go over it with 3M wheel and see if we can clean up any residue, wash it all down, and she's ready for epoxy primer. So yeah, we're moving right along. Okay, so that's what she looks like, all cleaned up. It's pretty good. You know, has to be washed out and that, but it's basically ready for epoxy. You know, I cleaned up all the outside edge here as well. So you know, removed the little rubber bumpers that were in there. They were dried up and crappy anyway. So yeah, so now all I got to do, I'm gonna flip the hood over because I've got a little bit of work left to do on the nose of this thing. Probably use the stinger for it. I can beat some of it out with a hammer right now, but we'll finish it off with a stinger. So yeah. Okay, so I hammered out what I could. There's still a couple little spots here, so I'm going to use the stinger again. This area here, it was really close to, there's a ridge in the middle. Yeah, I just couldn't get enough force on it with a hammer. So, stinger it is. Okay, well, it's coming. Okay. Better. Still not marvelous though. Sweet. That came out a lot. Couple more here. Okay, not bad. We'll grind those up and see what we got. Might have to hit a couple more spots, but I think we got her pretty good. So there we go. The metal work on the front clip is done. 2 front fenders and a hood. So it's a big chunk of the truck. I'll probably spray that with epoxy tonight. because it takes, you know, it takes almost a day for that to cure before you can do anything with it. You can't put putty or anything on it until it cures up. So they're telling you anyway 16 to 20 hours. So I like to go a full 24 to be safe, because it is humid. I don't know how that affects the curing of this epoxy, but so if we go 24 hours, we should be fine. I got plenty of things to do anyway. I could get started on the box. There's some patching. There's a ton of stripping to do on that. I got to get all the old wood out of the bed. Also on the rear axle, I haven't painted it yet. I've got my shock mounts to put on the frame, put the shocks in. Yeah, so you know, there's plenty of stuff to do. But I really need cab bad, man. You know, I need one soon. I'm starting to wonder if I'm ever going to get these damn things or what. Whatever condition they're in, I know I've got for sure at least 2 really good doors, so I don't have to worry about metal work on doors. You know, and I'll just keep plugging away, man. It's all I can do, you know. Maybe I can start running some brake lines and stuff like that. So whatever, it's gonna keep plugging away at it. There's no shortage of things to do. I also can dig out the steering rack and get that figured out as well. So yeah, and you know, when you're spraying epoxy, it's a good thing to have a timer between coats, and in my case, I use a tall can of ice cold pop, and that times out perfectly. So yeah, we'll get a couple coats of that on, and see how she looks. I'm sure it'll be fine. It straightened out pretty good from what I could see, and you know, it is what it is, man. So subscribers, new ones, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You know, spread the word. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and you know, I'd appreciate it. Don't be afraid to leave comments down below, and you know, you can check out Dirty Dan's Rod and Cycle on Facebook as well. Got some stuff there. I don't post there that much anymore, but there's quite a bit of stuff there from the past 2 years or so, and you know, I still post a photo or an update here and there. Yeah, and you know, if you're not doing anything else, get out in the garage and build something, man. Later, guys.